Hi there, and welcome back to the Back Pain Solutions podcast. Today by Jacob. I'm going to be the only guy speaking today, and I'm going to speak about another case study, patient case, patient of mine, and she is a back pain situation, which I saw at the end of October last year. In other words, just over 5 months ago. And she's 47, sporty lady, likes to go to the gym, likes to run. And she came to me with long-term leg glute pain. She actually felt it into a calf and also into a foot. So she presented the first time with buttock pain, so no low back pain, buttock pain, hamstring. Her calf felt swollen. In other words, a bit like a balloon um, blown up, feeling she had in her calf. And she had pins and needles underneath her foot. Right, so a very specific description of what she felt in her left leg in this case. But we have a multitude of different presentations for quite often a very similar cause. And this is a very specific one of them. So I saw her end of October last year. Skeptic lady, never been to a chiropractor before, been to other practitioners, the sports GP, which is a sort of specialization here in the Netherlands, and nobody really helped her. Helped a little bit, but couldn't get her to be free from her problem. So, um, uh, like I said, very skeptic lady. Cautious in the feeling I got, cautious in believing the things that I was saying and so. But anyway, I did my testing, and we did slumps test and nerve tension tests, and revealed that there was some nerve tension coming from the low back in the left leg. We did the McGill instability test, low back, saw that there was some instability L4, L5. It was reproducing pain into the buttock, but she didn't have back pain in general. Her low back is, according to her, just fine. And then we did the heel drop test, some sensitivity. I'm paying attention quite often to, even if it just feels like there's a little bit of discomfort on the heel drop test as being significant. But in her case, it was difficult to say. She might have felt something. She wasn't so sure. It wasn't really a full-on pain reproducing test. Lateral shear, low back, um, revealed not anything. And we did a couple more tests just to see if everything is in order, and they were just fine. So then we started with treatment, and the first time that she came, when I did the test, usually I also give a lot of homework based on what's needed. And we first started with relaxation exercises, posture, looking at seated postures, standing posture, techniques and ways to reduce pressure through the low back. So that's the main objective when we look at posture and we look at relaxation exercises, different ones that you can use depending on the situation. But there's a requirement of doing them frequently throughout the day. Our real goal there is to reduce pressure. It's all about the pressure in her case. And so we looked at that, and then I saw her 2 weeks later, and the calf, the pressure in the calf was as good as gone. Pins and needles, gone in the foot, bottom of the foot. So what she had left was the sensation on the side of her hip, so going not all the way, but towards her groin, glute or buttock, and hamstring. and still very skeptic of what we're doing. Big focus on what are we doing now? Is it actually making a difference? Even though we had quite a jump of progression in 2 weeks. So then we carried on with exercises. So especially the bird dog, side plank. We do the baby supine. So working on intra-abdominal pressure very gently, but we want to activate that abdominal cavity musculature in the front to see if we can decrease low back musculature being used. Again, another way to gradually move towards less pressure in the low back, creating more healing capacity in the spine. And we made more progress. So 2 weeks later, when I saw her again, there was significant progress. She said, I feel less and I can do more. But I have to say, when we started with the exercises with the bird dog, on the hands and knees, just pushing the leg out backwards, really trying to maintain the posture in which you start, she had significant difficulty to maintain her posture. There was complete collapse on the resting knee, in that hip. She just, the hip swiveled to the side, throughout the spine. There was very little toning of neurological toning of the posture. Um, I really had to cue, okay, look, I want you to tighten up your shoulders, give me a small brace, push out the abdominal wall, then go into hanging in your back. So let's keep the back straight, and then just sliding the foot out on the floor. In other words, the easiest version of almost the easiest version of bird dog meant that she would collapse. So we had to really get a focus on that, and she did it at home, and I saw her a second time, and she wasn't doing it perfect, but like what I tell patients is, you got to go away. The exercise is absolutely not perfect, but I want you to do it so you mentally you get a grip on what you're doing, get a feel for what you're doing. So the next time I see you, we're gonna change that exercise into what we want it to be. But then you're able to understand what you've been doing, and adapting the exercise is so much easier. Otherwise, you're still looking to see, what am I actually doing? So it stays a refining process throughout, and one has to have patience. But she did her best, and she was exercising twice a day. In this case, relaxation exercises and the core exercises. And she had, by the third, fourth time I saw her, significant progress, where she would have moments where she doesn't feel very much anymore, you know. And we made the exercises a little bit more difficult. She really focused on her posture, trying to keep the pressure down in all circumstances, which I think she succeeded very well at. And slowly, gradually, she developed some belief in what we were doing, and she got very excited about the fact that this long-term problem might be resolved and she might get back to running pain-free. So she asked, could I go running? Could I try it? And I said, okay, we'll do once in 3 days, so with rest days after a running session, and a short run of maybe 10, 12 minutes, of which you break it up into walking, running, walking, running. So very gentle. And then we don't want to just see whether it provides symptoms during the exercise or during the action, but also the evening or the morning after. So pay good attention to what you feel there. And so she went off, still busy with her exercises, relaxation exercises, and she went running, came back the next time and said, I had a massive reaction to running. So, without having to tell her she has to wait with running, we came together to the conclusion that actually running will come, hopefully, most likely, but we have to be a little bit more patient. So then increasing the side plank to maybe the side lying hip thrust. So making it a bit more difficult. Bird dog, by now, she's been doing, instead of sliding a leg out, she's been pushing a leg into the air, knees a little bit wider, so increased intensity, going very well. And she, instead of running, is now walking twice a day for a shorter distance, maybe 20 to 30 minutes. And then from time to time, she does a longer walk of an hour, hour and a half. And it, so far, it's going really well. So she's able to push herself walking. She's got a new pair of walking shoes, very enthusiastically. We looked together at shoes that would work for that. Comfortable summer hiking shoes, approach shoes. And we, I believe, aren't there 100%. I explained to her as well that, you know, when it comes to a nerve radiating down the leg, we have ridiculous symptoms. We can do a great job at getting you better, but we want that situation in the spine at that disc that's most likely causing that irritated nerve to settle. And for it to settle, you need time. And you need to repeat the routine that we're using to relax or cause relaxation, decrease pressure in the lower back, cause more stabilization around the spine through the stability exercises. You have to repeat that routine for quite some time on a daily basis. I would say at least maybe 2-3 months, and then gradually build it down. And be mindful, because you need months for that disc to actually settle, the whole situation to settle. And what happens is, you're rewinding that central sensitization when the tissue injury site got more sensitized from being irritated and injured for so long. So you're actually rewiring the neurological aspect of that injury. That takes months, weeks to, well, we can say weeks. But in fact, it takes months depending on how severe that was to start with. And you have to have that disc settle. It has to gristle and it has to get stiff. And that is actually the buffer that we want to build up. So we have that buffer to use if we're in a tight spot where we've got to travel in the car for 12 hours, or we have a very long hike, or we want to push our bodies. So we stay within that buffer and hopefully don't fall through that buffer into or below zero, if we think of a bank account, because then we go into the negative, and that's where we feel pain. And we want to hold on to that good thing that we've created. And if we do that for long enough after we don't feel pain anymore, we'll build that buffer, and we're able to increase that healing capacity even more for a longer time, which eventually adds up to becoming very resilient to all kinds of things that we haven't been for a very long time. So we're still in that process, and she's doing great. She's very excited and happy about the fact that she finally got rid of her long-term problem, and she's booked a hiking holiday with her sister and her mom in a beautiful, warm European country, and she's gonna hike. I think it's daily for a week. I think it's 20 kilometers a day, up and down, and something she wasn't able to do before we started with her leg symptoms. So I hope you enjoyed that case study. I have many more of those that I will share with you here, and hopefully some things you can relate to, or eventually, if you listen to enough of them, it makes sense how maybe you should look at your own recovery. We're quite often trying to find a quick cure, but seldom there's a quick cure for a chronic problem. It's a a long-term recovery, which often is the recovery that will last for long term. So I'm glad you listened to me on a podcast. If you want to head over to our website, smartstrong.co.uk, you're welcome to have a look at the information there. If you have any questions, you can mail us, myself or Ben. We're happy to answer your questions. Thank you.